Monday, August 10th. Monday, August 10th. It's me. All right, we're on the air or something. Hi to people at YouTube. If you want to watch the stream live, as always, go to twitch.tv/GMBenjaminFeingold and watch us live. We're on every day, usually in the evening Eastern time. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 11 Eastern, 8 to 11 Eastern on Tuesday, 5 to 7 Eastern Thursday, and then 6 to 9 on Saturday and 5 to 9 on Sunday. Karen streams maybe 5 or 6 days a week, usually before me. Usually. I don't think she streamed today, so not today. I've been asked by more than one person to do a recap of the Magnus Carlsen event. So, all right. The tournament started yesterday. It's, as usual, has a format that's confusing. Actually, I didn't turn the light on. I knew I forgot something. Even when I didn't forget something. That's why this stream is so quiet, because I didn't turn the light on. Yeah, I have to look all the way over here. Over there? Yeah. Using my lungs like a sucker while my friend has an iron lung. Terrible. Did you keep the stream in good stead? Okay, so there's 4 players. They took anybody who won a tournament, and then they took the 2 highest ranking people who didn't win a tournament. So that's what's happening. The first match is Nakamura Dubov, and the winner of that match plays the winner of Ding versus Carlsen. And each match consists of several mini matches. They're playing the first to win 3 matches. So you have to win on 3 different days. And then once somebody does that in either match or both matches, the winners play a best of 7 series. So they go from best of 5 to best of 7. So it's unclear how many days the tournament will take. It depends on the results. At the moment, Nakamura is up 2 matches to 0. So if he wins any of the matches in the next 3 days, he wins. And then Dubov has to win all 3 matches, and then he wins. So that's going to be a difficult task. The winner of that match plays the winner of the other match. Ding won the first match, and Carlsen won the second match. So they're going to play at least 3 more matches, because it's the first to win. I'm sorry, at least 2 more matches, because it's the first to win 3. Anyway, each match can also consist of different number of games. It's the best of 4 games. So if you have 2.5 out of 3 or 3 out of 3, your match is over. And then if it's tied at 2 after 4 games, they play 2 Blitz games. If after the 2 Blitz games it's tied, then they play an Armageddon game where black has draw odds and white gets an extra minute. So white gets white and an extra minute. And then they've done this stuff before, so if you've been following the last few months, you sort of know the drill. Now, as you all know, Hikaru has been driving across the country to go to California. I guess he has an aching in his heart. He flew to California last month, and this month he drove there. So right after he drove to California and arrived, then he had to play this match with Dubov. And you can sort of see that in the first game, maybe he was rusty. I thought he was Hikaru, but he says he's rusty. So I don't know. Where did I see that recently? The doctor wanted to be called Rusty? Oh, it was a Curb. That's right. All right, let me refresh. Let's see. Karen says there's a class tomorrow. That is correct. Yeah. I haven't read the chat at all. Let's see what the chat says, and then I'll refresh. Let's see. So far, not a great chat. Let's see, Spencer teaching Sultan Khan presentation. Khan! My internet is bad today. Let's see. Takes 2 to lie. That's right, Grungewort. 1 to lie and 1 to listen. That is correct. All right, that was some kind of chat there. And I refresh. And we have 100 viewers. Hooray. Okay, so I'm going to put every game up in order. And then I'm probably just going to go to critical positions instead of show the whole game. If the whole game is less than 20 moves, I'll show the whole game. Okay, this game is short, so I'll show it. This was the first game yesterday. Dubov's white, and they played a Nimzo Indian. And Dubov played knight f3, bishop g5, which... Kasparov's played knight f3, bishop g5. It's not super theoretical now. c5, rook c1. Now, there's a senior master who lives in Michigan named Fred Lindsay, and he plays this way with white. Usually he plays bishop g5, then rook c1. He doesn't play knight f3. And he actually plays queen takes d4, and after knight c6, he takes with the bishop, and they get to this endgame. Knight takes, bishop takes. Although the knight's on f3, so it's slightly different. That ending's about equal, but he likes that endgame. I mean, you could do that now. The engine actually says queen takes, knight c6, bishop takes. You can throw a knight takes f3 check. And it says that that's slightly better for black. Obviously, white's going to get double pawns here. Anyway, queen takes is a weird move. It's sort of a tricky move because you're trying to double the pawns. Okay, he took with the knight, which is normal. d5, cd5. And one of the ways black tries to punish white for playing a very early bishop g5 in a lot of Nimzo Indians, which isn't necessarily common, is to play g5. And that way the bishop can't come back here or pin the knight, so black can get some immediate pressure. That's actually what Naka did. So if black wants to play queen a5 and knight e4 and, Papa John's, well, if you play queen a5 now, I can take this knight. So you can't play knight e4. You can't play knight e4 now because I take the queen. So if you want to punish white for not getting his king side out when black's already castled, this is how you do it. And this is why a lot of people don't get better at chess. People who get chess lessons and want to improve their game, they want to catch all. They're like, should I play g5 when my opponent pins my knight? And a coach is like, nah, that weakens your king. And then you're like, all right, and that's correct. However, sometimes you want to play g5 because the position calls for it. And if all positions were the same and you did everything the same in every position, why would anybody be better than anybody? But if you recognize when to do things that you don't usually do, and you do them then you're better than the person who just wants the same move in every position, doesn't want to learn. So the engine plays g5. If you don't play g5, then white got away with not moving his pieces. He defended his knight. He's going to give black an isolated pawn. He's going to have a perpetual pin. The bishop's not here. So, I mean, this is the way that black should try to punish white. Okay, and then somebody did something. Sam Tan subscribed. A whole year of fries. That's a lot of fries. Okay. Well, I just said why it was good here. Go back and later and listen to what I said. Okay. So bishop g3, and then he played not knight e4, but he played knight takes d5, and he's gonna hammer him on c3. There's no bishop to d2, and he's gonna try to take advantage of the king on e1. The engine does not agree with the way black has played this opening, and this is the problem with a lot of players today, and why I always say the players are weaker today than they used to be, And I get shot down by all the grandmasters who say, well, we're better. All right. All the horses are better than Secretariat, even though the 1973 Belmont is still the record. They're still better. Anyway, so grandmasters today do tons and tons and tons of opening prep. That's 95% of their work. So they got novelties in positions you didn't know were theory. And sometimes when somebody who's really well prepared plays somebody else who's really well prepared, it's fascinating because they've ended the normal theory on move, let's say 17, but they're still in their prep on move 22 because they've prepped more than that and they both have novelties ready later. Okay, so that's good. But then you get positions like this that the players don't know because white's playing an unusual line with knight f3 and bishop g5 and knight takes d4. And so the players are on their own and it's a rapid game and it's tricky. So now it's just a lot of mistakes because they're not in their prep. And when that happens, some of these guys are completely losing in the opening because they haven't prepared it. Okay. So I wouldn't say players are better today. They're just more studious. I mean, in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, to be a grandmaster, you didn't have to study chess 12 hours a day and have novelties ready because it was hard to get the latest games. There weren't a lot of magazines and books available right away. There was no internet. If I wanted to study with my coach halfway around the world, that wasn't easy. Now, of course, it's easy. So now you can do a lot of opening prep with engines and coaches that you couldn't do back then. People didn't do them, so their opening play wasn't as deep, but their play was pretty good. They had good chess understanding. Freddie Potzer subscribed. Botez must play. Yeah, I'm thinking of banning that person unless they change their handle. And then Karen won't like that, but yeah, you probably should change your handle or stop coming to my stream. All right. And then Kevin Hart subscribed. Good. Okay. And then it's typing messages before I answer. Boo. Anyway, change your handle or you're not going to be allowed on my stream anymore. Okay. So there's plenty of other streams you can get kicked off of. Okay. Anyway, so of course, back in the 60s, the 70s, and 80s, there were a lot of good players. Now, most of the better players are just people who have a lot of opening prep, like Shanklin, for example. Not good at chess, but lots of opening prep. Okay, now Dubov has tons of interesting opening prep, and he likes interesting, complicated positions, and it's sort of like the old Hikaru. Hikaru used to play really crazy, weird, nonsensical, play to win at all costs, and then he would win a lot. And now he plays more normal because, everybody he plays is 2800. So this is like, Dubov is like Hikaru 10 years ago, except Dubov does a lot more opening prep. But Dubov likes wild and crazy positions, and just like Hikaru, he's really good at them. Okay, so he played e3. Hikaru again tried to punish his opponent. Queen a5. Okay, there's no bishop to d2. So he's like, all right, bishop d3, and I guess you'll win a pawn and, Papa John's. All right, in this position, Hikaru made a couple of mistakes in a row, after which he was losing. Now, certainly, I would play knight takes c3, and the engine says, in this position, black is just lost, because white's going to play queen h5 and h4, and that's no good. All right, so the engine says white's winning here. I mean, that's what I would do. So this whole thing that black did here just didn't work. Back to the drawing board. So he played rook d8, castles, and then instead of recapturing, which is fine, he played queen h5. Recapturing is also good. And since black's pieces are all on the queen side, he's going to get checkmated by white's pieces. And the engine just says black can resign here. You can't allow queen takes h6, so always play bishop f8. And material's equal, but white just has a winning attack. The game ended immediately. The game didn't go very much longer. E5 hitting the knight. This threatens mate. And he played here, defending mate, and bishop takes e5 was a simple win. And the idea is I'm threatening the queen. If your queen takes, I have mate in 2. And if you don't take, queen g6 is mate. So the engine says white is plus 15 here, and black has to give his queen away. So Naka resigned. And he didn't get to move these pieces, and his bishop b4, queen a5 ended up having to go back. So the thing is, a lot of people play a bad game, and that happens, and you lose, and whatever, then you play more games. And the only way to avoid losing is not to play, and that game wasn't, Hikaru's best. And obviously, it's not good for your chess when you've driven 3 days straight across country from Florida to California. Probably not good for his chess. And he lost quite badly. And actually, when you have boring players like Giri and Leica who draw all their games, it's very unlikely when they do lose that they're going to lose in 15, 20 moves. However, when you have really exciting players, sometimes they make a mistake and they make it early, and then the game ends in 20 moves and they lost. And sometimes the game ends in 20 moves and they won because the action is heating up right away. And so that's, and that's what happened. So what Naka needs to do is forget about that game and go play the next game. Yeah. He'll develop his pieces next game. He doesn't have to develop his pieces this game. That happens. Perrier. C'est fou. So that didn't work out. Now, what he could have done is he could have said, okay, I'm not going to try to punish my opponent for not doing this, so I'll just play really boring and be slightly worse. I'll play b6, bishop b7, bishop e7, and white's slightly better. But instead, he tried to punish his opponent for not getting these out by playing queen a5 and knight here. And as a consequence, he's putting tremendous pressure on c3, possibly winning a pawn, but he's neglecting this development. And then it didn't work out. Sometimes things don't work out. All right. It's funny, when I downloaded all of the games from a chess site I've never heard of, Chess24, I don't think they exist anymore. I think they went defunct since I started the stream. I didn't see this game, so I had to go find it. I guess Magnus said don't put this game in the list of games. All right, this is also game 1 of the match yesterday, and I don't want to go over the whole game because then we'll be here forever. So I'll tell you it was a Sicilian, and it was an opposite side castling Sicilian. So I'll get to the critical position. Okay, and normally in opposite side castling Sicilian, I mate you, you mate me. Well, black wanted to play b4, and white said no. And white wanted to play g4, and black said no. So actually nobody was mating anybody this game. It was more positional. Obviously, white's played king b1. And Ding decided he wants to win the d-pawn. Rawr! So instead of playing for checkmate, he's going to win the d-pawn and win the game. Well, there's 2 things you can do to save your d-pawn, and the engine doesn't like what Magnus did. d5 is the engine move, and he played e5. So it says that he's slightly worse either way, but that he's more slightly worse now. And I tell all of my students, and none of them ever listen, so I stopped teaching chess. I told them don't play e5 in the Sicilian. So that's why I stopped teaching Magnus. There's no way you're going to see me teaching Magnus now. e5 in the Sicilian. Now, what e5 does is it weakens d5 and f5. f5 doesn't really matter here. And what we do is black wants to play d5 whenever he can, or if white puts a piece on d5, he wants to take it. So white plays bishop g5 and gets rid of the knight. It's a very common theme. And he wants to put a piece on d5, not a pawn, because he wants this pawn to be weak. Now, it's opposite colored bishops, and the bishops can't do very much, but these pawns are attacked, this pawn is attacked, and I got nothing good to say about that bishop. Okay, he played king e7, since the king is safe on e7, and he can get his rook out. He can't really attack the king. and he played c4 because he wants to make his bishop active. Obviously, he'd like to win a pawn, but also if you take, he takes with the bishop, and his bishop and queen make a battery here. So he plays rook c8, and he takes a pawn. He tries to get his pawn back. He gets his pawn back, but now it's pinned, so he plays a4. And unfortunately, that's going to be the end of the pawn. You can't really save this pawn. If you play b4, trying to save the pawn, you're giving all the white squares away. So bishop b5 is good, bishop c4 is good. And again, that bishop on f6 is terrible. This looks like Magnus is white, and he's squeezing his opponent, but sometimes you get squeezed yourself. All right, and white's up a pawn. White has 2 passed pawns. It's technically winning. Magnus has already lost. Tries to activate his bishop, and he does, but he's down a pawn. And it's just a technical win. He's up 2 passed pawns on the queen side. The truth hurts. And then after b4, he resigned. If bishop takes b4, I win a rook. Otherwise, I keep pushing. So that game was weird because normally that's how Magnus beats people. He gets rid of their counterplay. He wins a pawn somehow, and he wins the endgame without any problem. Now, what I don't understand, and I'll never understand, I will never understand this. Hopefully, I can talk to somebody in the world top 20 in the next year, and I'm going to ask them. And if they give a reasonable answer, I will accept it. Magnus, over the last 3 years, has been very, very, very successfully playing the Sveshnikov. So he plays knight c6, and he does this, and he's doing great with black. Played it in the World Championship, played it after the World Championship, and he wins and draws. He wins a lot and draws a lot, and almost never loses. I don't remember him losing. Maybe he lost that. But I mean, he's been killing it with this, and he really knows it well. And the last couple of months, he's been playing e5, and he's been playing the Najdorf. And I don't know why. I mean, go back to the Sveshnikov. What are you doing? Okay. I'm not basing that result on one game. Najdorf, he's playing the Najdorf against Nepo. I mean, put the Berlin against Nepo and win. So I don't know what Magnus is doing. I guess he's bored and he's trying to lose sometimes. He's winning too much. And he's like, yeah, Sveshnikov is pretty successful. The Berlin, that's pretty successful. Let's play something where somebody maybe can beat me. I don't know. I mean, it's a fine opening, but I don't, it's not, yeah. Papa John's. Luckily, Dubov is playing this Sveshnikov, so we can get some insight. Okay, now we'll switch it up, and we'll have Magnus first. This is the next game. These matches were all played yesterday until I stopped showing you that. Okay, and Magnus was down 1-0. He played his London system. And Ding decided to play the line with e6, bishop d6, which is fine. And Magnus, instead of playing bishop to g3 or taking the bishop, he let Ding take the bishop, which gives away the e5 square for black. So after bishop takes, pawn takes, white really has a stranglehold on e5, and he has another knight that can come, and so forth. So instead, Ding played cd4. The reason is white wants to play ed4 whenever that happens, but not now. So if the bishop wasn't hanging, you would play ed4. But if you have to play cd4, we have an exchange Slav where the knight's on d2 instead of c3. You can't play knight d4 because of e5. So Magnus took the bishop because he wants to take with e-pawn. And now we get this crazy line. And I assume both players have prepared this line. The engine slightly prefers white. I think this is a really good line for white if you need to win. because you're sacrificing a pawn. He just saves his bishop. And black is up a pawn, but he can't castle, and white has the two bishops. That's a very strange position. So I think if you're in a must-win game, which he sort of is, he lost the first game, he's white, he got to win. This is good. Okay. And after knight c6, he played the very provocative queen g5. It's difficult to defend this pawn. You don't want to play rook g8. You don't want to play g6, but you got to play one of them. The engine says rook g8's better. That's what he played. It's not going to castle kingside anyway, so I guess not weakening the white's dark squares is good. All right, and the game was slightly better for white or equal for a while. Okay, the engine says this is equal, slightly better for white. White's down a pawn. White has the two bishops, and white has control of the dark squares. This bishop's no good. Obviously, white's going to start attacking over here. So the engine says it's about equal because black's up a pawn. Okay, always play king b8. And bishop e8, bishop b4. Yeah, and the engine says this is about equal. Maybe white's a little better. Yeah. Okay, now, I don't know if Ding misunderstood the position, or Ding was desperate, or Ding was confused. Here, Ding just made a move that just loses. And white's better here, because white has better chances for an attack. White has two bishops. White's knight on e5 is dominating. Black's bishop is terrible. Black's rook on g8 is not very good. And black's a pawn up. So the engine says white's better, but not really winning yet. And he played knight e4, which just loses. I mean, white gets his pawn back, but black doesn't get any relief because this bishop's still no good. And I think, in my opinion, I could be wrong, I think he missed the queen h7 idea when he did this. It's funny, queen g5, queen h7, just sort of like beginner moves, winning immediately. And he played f6, which obviously you don't want to do because it's f6. And the engine actually says f6 is the best move. And it says if white retreats his knight, then black is doing okay. And Magnus played queen h7. And that was like the end of the game. And I'm guessing when Ding played knight e4, he didn't see queen h7. I guess. You can't move your bishop to h5 to protect your rook because knight d7 check wins the queen. I mean, basically, you can't save your rook. The rook's trapped. Yeah, you can't defend it. So, I don't know. Maybe I told you players were better a long time ago. Let's see. All right, good chat. Not too good. Nothing to do with the game, nothing to do with me, just nonsense in the chat. All right, good job. Yeah, f6 doesn't just lose by force. Every move loses by force, and f6 is the best. Okay, the game concluded, knight b3, and a little Magnus trick for you, so you're happy. I'll let you guys find it. Every move wins. This move isn't even better than other moves. It's just you guys will like it. You have to find a move that you would like, that you recommend. You're like, oh, I like that move. You know, that's the, yeah. Right, queen takes e8 is correct, yeah. Yeah, then knight here check, and you take the queen, and you take the knight, and Papa John's. All right, and black has no pieces left, so he resigned. The best way, if he doesn't resign, the engine says takes, queen d7, threatening the knight, and threatening this pawn, and this pawn, and this pawn, and so forth. I'm not sure why he does. I guess a5 is good too. 1,000 centidues. Thanks, Nicola. Nicola, I thought you tweeted you weren't going to stream. Then I saw you were streaming. Although I could have imagined all of that. And the engine says white's plus 4.5 here. since all these pawns are going to fall. Knight's no good. King's no good. All right, so Magnus lost the first game with Ding playing Masterpiece, strategical game. Then the second game, Magnus just rolled over Ding. And Ding had no hope. Okay, and the same thing happened score-wise, but not game-wise. And we'll go to the critical positions. Naka's down 1. He lost in 17 moves. He's got to, win. So they play a Sicilian, this variation of the Sicilian, the classical, which I play. Xanth gifted a sub, and Tutu gifted a sub. Thank you. The Rouser and Dubov played the very strange Bishop D7 A6, which I've never played that. But after this, he transposed. Okay, Queen E2 E6. So we're back to normal theory. Okay, and this is just normal Sicilian craziness. Black should be pretty happy. He's got, some stuff going. GF is possible. It's not even necessarily bad. We took with a bishop. That's why Hikaru took on F6. And he's down a pawn, but he has 2 bishops, and he has this beautiful bishop, and his pieces aren't doing anything. White's better because white's up a pawn, but it's not serious. Okay, he gets his pawn back. Wants to trade queens, and Naka says, I want to trade queens and open the H file. Very strange move. And he says, no, you can't open the H file. Okay, then he plays a really weird move that I would barely consider, and the engine says it's great. It says it's winning. E5. And Dubov has decided his attack is going to win over White's attack. And he's right and he's wrong. That's why he's a super GM. He was right in theory, but he was wrong in practice. The engine says that's the best move, and that Black's attack is now stronger than White's attack. In fact, it wants to play Queen C7 instead of Rook C7, but okay. It's all good. And Bishop E5 is good. A4. And you can see Black is attacking and White isn't. So, yeah, now he's just lost. The engine says Bishop D7 is +5 for Black. And then the Queen moves and the Bishop moves. And Black is attacking White's king. And White's not attacking Black's king. You can see this Rook doesn't do anything. And that move's okay. Always play King B1. Okay. And Rook A7 is a mistake. He should have played Bishop C4. Now the engine says it's a draw. And Rook HD1 is, that's actually losing. So Queen G4 is the losing move. Queen G4 is actually the losing move here. He needs to double rooks first. After Queen G4, he's lost. And now Black is completely winning, but he missed the win. The win is actually sort of weird because it's something you would like to do, but you wouldn't necessarily do it this way. It's just that it works. You want your queen in front of your rook so you can play mate. So the winning move is rook to A8, and then queen A7, then mate. And after rook to A8, the engine just resigns. It just says White's completely lost. +5 for Black. Here, mate. And then, it does some silly nonsense to stop the mate losing all of his pieces. Okay, and instead of rook A8 winning, he played king E7 because he was afraid of this counterplay where White's sacrificing in exchange and White's trying to do stuff. And that's because he's not a computer. He's a human. He's like, I'm going to stop your counterplay, then I'm going to win. Now he's defending D7 a lot. Okay, and that move actually loses. Now the game's over. And what's funny is, when he tried to defend D7 with his king, he undefended G7, which he didn't realize was as important. Now I'm threatening queen takes F7 mate. And after rook D6, I'm threatening something else which he missed. The only move is queen takes rook, which he didn't do. And this is completely lost for Black. Black has no attack, and White's taking all the pawns with check. Okay. And instead he blundered with queen c7. And the PGN says the game ended here, but I've also seen one where this happened, which is mate. So either Dubov moved and immediately resigned, or the game did end in mate, and the PGN doesn't have it. I'm not sure. So that was a very quick turnaround where Dubov was winning. He saw fake counterplay with rook d7, and he allowed a real counterplay with queen g7. After queen g7, he's just losing. So that game actually turned on one move because they're playing a fast time control. If he had ignored rook d7, he would have won the game. But by thwarting it, he lost immediately. Now let's look at rook d7, which obviously he was afraid of. Okay, he was like, "Oh no, I'm losing." Okay, and in fact, he is losing, except for one thing: he has a winning defense. Either he didn't see the winning defense, or he thought king e7 was safer and he'll just win later. I don't know. I know he saw this, and he must have said, rook takes f7, So he didn't allow this. But he's all talking a badge. He's got nothing. He did resign instantly before getting mated. Man, harsh. Rook c7 is correct. If you don't play rook c7, you have to resign. If you play rook c7, then white has to resign. Man, chess is hard. It's amazing. If you don't play rook c7, it's +8 for white. If you play rook c7, it's +8 for black. There's nothing here. White can't do anything. So if it was black's move, he would play like queen a7 and mate. Queen c8 wins. Everything wins. Taking wins, followed by that. But yeah, I don't know. So in this position, rook a8, queen a7 wins. After bishop e8, he's probably winning. And after rook e8, it says it's equal. And he played this, and he has to resign. Did he not see queen g7? I don't know. Maybe he was so focused on d7 and d8, he forgot about queen g7 because queen g7 wasn't legal. So when both sides are mating each other, you need to calculate accurately. And when you both have no time on your clock, then you don't calculate accurately. Then somebody blunders and loses. Now, if Dubov had played rook a8, and if he had won the game, he'd be up 2-0 at this point. Probably he'd win the match. And then who knows what would have happened today. I don't know. But instead he didn't see it. He lost immediately. And now everything's all turned around. Yeah. What if white plays rook d8? Man, I got a lot of guys on d8. God damn. You got one guy defending it. I got three guys defending it. So, yeah. Rook d8's not going to happen. Yeah. If white plays rook after rook c7, let's see. Crazy analysis as usual. After rook c, oh, I'm sorry. After rook c7, rook takes a7. What? No, rook c7, not rook a7. Right. Yeah, the reason rook a7 doesn't work is because of what he said. Right. Yeah, but rook c7 works. Yeah. All right. Rook a8. Bishop d5. Queen takes d7. Oh, in this position, my brother's saying. Yeah, it's the same. Rook c7. White needs some more pieces to attack, like a queen here. Yeah. Somebody says after rook a8, what if bishop d5, attacking the rook? That is correct. Yeah. Now it says every move wins for black because you've stopped your counterplay here. So rook a6 wins, queen b6 wins, and b3 wins. b3 seems the most annoying. I'm sort of surprised that the engine says here that white resigns. Truth hurts. Without this bishop attacking, there's no threat. You can't go to d8, I'm defending it, so I'm going to mate you. Man, harsh. The truth hurts. That's funny that with the queen and 2 rooks, white can't make a threat here. This is the most scary looking move. And then I just ignore it. It says b3 wins, queen here wins, it says taking it wins. Man, harsh. And it says white resigns. So white's getting mated, over here, and black is not getting mated. Now, if you're an engine, that's actually very easy. Very easy. If you're a human, you're like, I don't know, maybe I'm getting mated. And then you lose. So the funny thing is, humans go into these lines that engines know are lost, and engines don't go into them because they know they're lost. This is why engines are good. If there's a mate in 7, mate in 6, mate in 5, it takes them 1 second. And if you're a human, you know that if you miss a move, you're going to lose. And I don't know, I'm guessing in this position, when he played king e7, he didn't see queen g7. That's my guess. He was so focused over here, he just forgot about queen g7. Queen g7 is the only winning move, but boy does it win. Double up on the bubble up. Yeah. Queen a7, where? Everywhere. The problem with queen a7 in this position is if I take the rook and you try to mate me, I can trade rooks with rook d8 check, and then you don't mate me. So the accuracy is important. You can sack the exchange if you play b3. And then taking the exchange is quite treacherous. Yeah, now it says that white resigns. Resigning, not good. Now again, for an engine, that's a 1 second analysis. But a human's like, let's look at this. You can't look at everything. Your flag's going to fall. You just got to make a move. So it's funny, if you play rook a8 and the guy plays rook d7 and beats you, you feel really stupid because you stopped rook d7. So to allow rook d7 and then rook d7 wins, that's not a good look. But if you correctly analyze this and you're like, well, I'm winning, I'm up in exchange and I'm going to mate him, which is what the engine would do, then that's it. So it's not really your gut. It's you calculated the variations and you were right. And if this was a slow game and Dubov thought for 10 minutes, he probably would have played rook a8. But, he thought for 10 seconds and played king e7. So some people, if you can call them people, they're not fans of this for the same reason that you guys are fans of it. It's funny when the best players in the world make horrible blunders, and then you incorrectly feel that you could beat them too, because if they blundered against you, you would win. Then you're confused why they never blunder against you. But in a slow game, there's less blunders, and when there's less blunders, there's less draws. And when there's less draws and there's more blunders, then you guys get really excited. And the purists of chess, they're like, why can't we have the players just play well and see who the best player is, as opposed to see who the best is by moving in 1 second? All right, well, obviously, if you're having an internet tournament, you would prefer Blitz, Rapid, and Bullet to slow chess because, game never ends. 5-hour game, come on. So we sacrifice well-played games for interesting games. And, it's the engine, the last 10 moves of the game, said black was completely winning. And then after king e7, it said white's completely winning. Truth hurts. Anyway, it's good for the spectator, especially when the spectator is rooting for the guy who was losing. Yeah. Etc.
March approved by Karen.
Go, Karen. I never find the right move. Yay, go Boberson. Okay, now we had too many wins, so now they had a draw. What happened? Geo Flanning. Oh, Jeff Flanning. Jeff Lanning. Thanks, Jeff Lanning. You know, I had a wife, I don't remember which one, and we were at Toys R Us, which is a store you've never heard of. And they have Toys R Us money there, like if you return some, you know. And they called it Jeffrey dollars, because Jeffrey's their giraffe, I guess. I don't know. And my wife at the time called it Joffrey dollars. And I said, it's Jeffrey. And she said, no, it's Joffrey. So we got divorced. Okay, now in this game, this was the game that ended very suspiciously. All right, we'll get to the end of the game. Okay, so White was up a piece, and White was winning, but he messed it up because chess is too hard. Who's going to play chess well? And this was a really cool ending of the game. So Black's down a piece for a pawn, but Black's threatening this. Oh, I'm actually looking at chess base, and you can't see what I'm looking at. You can see what I see. All right. Sorry about that. I'm the world's worst person. Okay, except for whichever wife said Joffrey. Okay, so this is the next game in the match. Magnus lost the first game. Magnus won the second game. This is the third game. Magnus was losing, and they got to this position. And this is the key position. Okay, and White's winning, but White missed the winning move. And when I say he missed the winning move, I'm sure he saw the winning move, but he didn't think it was winning as the move that he played because I'm sure he missed. I know what happened. You guys don't know what happened, but I do. Okay, so the winning move is bishop takes f4. Obviously, Black was intending to win some material, but that doesn't work because I have this fork. Okay, and the engine says White's winning. Plus 2.2, plus 2.5, and White's going to be up a piece for a pawn or something. Okay, the main line is takes, king e6, bishop takes g7, rook takes g5, and White's up a piece for a pawn. So I assume Ding would win. Okay, and Ding either didn't see that, or more likely, much more likely, when he played the move knight e5 check, he obviously missed what Magnus was going to do here, frankly. And again, if he had an hour on his clock, he would have played bishop takes f4 and won. But he played knight e5 check, which is a blunder. And now the game is a draw. Let's see if you guys can figure out how. Let's see. No vaccine, software update, Papa John's. All right. Mainly Papa John's. Are there any Toys R Us that are open, or they're all closed forever? I thought they all closed forever, then they were going to reopen or something. Anybody? Fry's is the answer. Still open in Canada. In Canada, it's all reversed. That's right. C.L. Smith is right, as well as the people who answered before him. If you take first of all, if I take that, if I play knight takes rook, I'm going to win. So if you play bishop takes, which I'm sure Ding was hoping for, I play the Zwischenzug and or Zwischenzug, and then, you resign. So what he missed was, after rook takes e5, it looks like White's up a rook because White's up a rook. But it's perpetual check. The truth hurts. And you can't get out. If you go here, then you get checkmated. So the game ended like this. Yeah, and then draw. And if White tries to win with here, then I play check and Papa John's. Yeah. And Black's completely winning here. King e6, and you lose all your pawns. So, I mean, the terrible, terrible, terrible blunder from Ding. Bishop takes f4 winning, then knight e5 check. And instead he played knight e5 check, rook takes, and he's like, It's good for us because then we get to do it on the recap. So, yeah. 2 locations in the U.S. I've been to more than, Get some of those Joffrey dollars. Yeah. All right, so Ding should have won, but he did not. Truth hurts. All right. And then Dubov resigned. Wait, no, that's not right. All right. Now we have game 3 of the other match. This is yesterday, of course. Mainly, of course. Naka has the black pieces, and they always repeat. Okay, you guys remember the first game? No? This is the first game. Okay, and after c5, Dubov played rook c1, and he won in 17 moves, and he decided to play differently this game. He played d5. This is a different move. This is the horse of a different color. So now, we actually are going to transpose into the Leningrad Nimzo, which Spassky liked to play with white. Okay, this is just like a normal Leningrad Nimzo. Okay. And the engine says it's about equal. Takes. Black's up a pawn, and white has the 2 bishops, and white hopes to get an initiative. Okay, you got to hope for something. And b5, crazy like Fox News. Notice, if the bishop takes, the e4 pawn isn't sufficiently defended. If you don't take the b5 pawn, well, then b5 is pretty good. And the engine wants to play like me, but Dubov's not me. If you're my student, or you've watched a lot of my streams, what's the antidote when black plays b5? Anybody? Anyone? Bueller? a4 is correct. And a4 is the engine move. It says it's equal position. You got to bust up the pawn. And also after a4, b4, I'm not saying black should play b4, but the engine does. Then the queen is trapped. It can't escape. So we can actually perpetual the queen. One of the problems with always playing for a win is you're not playing for a draw. So sometimes when you have an equal position, instead of drawing, you play moves and you're losing. Happens to Dubov sometimes. So he did play rook here, but now after queen a3, I can't attack your queen anymore because my pawn's here. Okay, but he doesn't care. He's like, whatever. He played bishop b1. He probably wants to attack the queen that way. Knight g4, controlling e5, and stopping rook e3. And now, the engine wants to play a move that looks pretty crazy, knight to d4. It threatens the pawn, it threatens to hop in here, and it threatens the knight. And for reasons I'll never understand, it says this is all zeros. It says takes, knight c5 is all zeros. All right. He played knight to d2 instead, also threatening the knight. Knight b6, defending the knight. Put it in h. Now this just looks like black's up a pawn to me. And black's up a pawn is pretty good here. Looks nice. Engine says that's terrible. And it just says black's winning. Obviously, Dubov's going to play for some crazy checkmate and hope that in Hikaru's time trouble he can't defend. The engine says black's totally winning. It doesn't believe in white's attack. It doesn't believe in Beatles. It just believes in Yoko and me. That's it. Okay, queen b4, little skewer pin action. Knight g6 is good. Bishop f6. Dubov losing Papa John's. He wants him to take it so he can get his attack going, on the G file. Ridiculous. That move is ignored. A4. Rook e5, exclam, former muscle. Hikaru knows that he's winning. The only way he won't win is if there's some tricky perpetual or checkmate. So he gets rid of the attacking pieces. And that's not the only good move or even the best move, but it's fine. Knight here is also good. Rook a7 defending is also good, but it's a fine move. Takes, knight takes. So white really doesn't have an attack now. Those knights are good defenders, and black is crashing through on the queen side. The knight on b3 doesn't have a good square. I mean, he can go to a1, but I mean, that's ridiculous. Queen b2 takes all the pieces. So he just took this. And Naka has 2 pieces for a rook, and Naka has the passed c pawn. Finally, white got f4 in, but too late. It's pinned to his rook. If it wasn't for rook f6, maybe Dubov would have some attack. Everything's pinned. And it's the wrap it up button. Wrap that gavel up. So white's pieces are the worst ever. These are the greatest pawns ever. These are the greatest knights ever. White can't do anything. Here come the pawns. He could trade queens here if he wants, but there's no stopping these pawns. These pawns are stopped. Even though it's 2 knights for a rook, it says black's up 7. Jesus Christ. So Dubov knows he's losing. He plays tricky, but there's not really any tricks left. All right, and then this is plus 7,000, so he resigned. So that game, Dubov got strategically outplayed quite badly. And I think the start of his playing bad was in this position when he played queen h5. His queen h5 rook lift, that didn't stop black's counterplay on the queen side. It didn't have any chance to work because Naka put his knights on g6 and e5 and put all his eggs in one basket, and he lost. And sometimes when he does that, he wins. Then people say he's a genius. It's very similar to the Rockets. You guys like the Rockets, so you're like, oh, James Harden got 50 points. And then, the first round of the playoffs, they lose. What are you going to do? So it looks good, and when it works, it's great. And then when it doesn't work, we forget about it. What are you going to do? Truth hurts. The good analogy, except for one thing. Sure, that one thing was. Anyway, a masterful performance by Naka, especially after losing game 1, being crushed in game 2, but then winning on a blunder, and now his confidence is back. Now, which happens to Naka sometimes, too much confidence. Now he wins like it's no problem. Okay? And the problem in chess is you can win like it's no problem until you don't. So now Naka's flying high. He got crushed the first game. He won a game he should have lost in game 2. And he completely crushed his opponent in game 3. Now it looks like he's invincible. Although when he was driving cross country, he was invisible. That was the difference. All right. Now, Ding and Carlsen didn't play the 4th game. And by me saying they didn't play the 4th game, they played the 4th game. But they didn't play the 4th game. And if you don't know what I'm saying, I'm going to show you. Now, this is the definition of vacuuming the board. They both just wanted to play the Blitz. Neither one of them wanted to play. So they traded all the pieces off. Okay, and this is actually an Anand Carlsen game also. All right. So they just intentionally, played a forced draw, and then they could play the Blitz. Magnus Carlsen White, greatest player ever lived. All right. Okay. Now, to me, you can argue, when you have the white pieces and the match is tied, you play for a win. And not only did he not play for a win, he already played this game before. This is a game he played with Anand. I think this is 2 games he played with Anand. Like this game. So, he's not even trying. I don't know. Hard to root for the guy who has white and doesn't try to win. All right. Guess we can root for him. All right, now, luckily, Dubov was playing Nakamura and not Wesley So, or Geary. So Nakamura needs to draw with white, and he wins the match. If you remember my lecture so far, and you don't, Nakamura lost the first game, and he won the next two. So now if Naka wins or draws, the match is over. And Naka has white. Okay, so Dubov plays for the win, plays his Najdorf Sicilian. Then he plays knight c6 like I do. Dubov not playing the Najdorf. And Naka played g3. This is a safe, solid system that gives black very few winning chances, especially when I'm black. Now, in my opinion, and the problem with my opinion is it's very hard for me to do. In my opinion, black should now play the Dragon Sicilian because white can't play the Yugoslav attack, and white can't play one of the slow, boring systems with like bishop e2 and bishop g5, like Karpov did in the 70s and 80s. White's already played g3. Nobody plays g3 against the dragon. I don't want to hear any of your guff. Okay, I'll give you an example. Okay, let's say black plays the dragon. You guys have seen the dragon. Everybody plays bishop e3 and you know, Papa John's, right? Or Karpov in the 70s, you know, okay, whatever. Nobody plays g3. Nobody's doing that. Okay, so when they play g3 against knight c6, you should play the dragon, and that would mean I have to learn that line of the dragon, because I've had black in this position. I don't play g6, but I should. Okay, so Dubov played correctly, playing a dragon against g3. Queen d1 doesn't sit right with me, but all right. Forcing f3, and after f3, you might as well just throw in the towel. So Hikaru played queen d2. Now, if Dubov plays king to h5, Nigel Short style, queen g5 is mate. That's what Naka was thinking when he lined up his queen and bishop like that. Maybe not. All right, rook c8, put it in h. So Naka's having a tough time this game because it's not in Naka's nature to play for a draw with white. Naka wants to win. If he plays aggressive to win, that's an easy way to lose. Somebody like Magnus or Geary or Kramnik or Leko, Karpov, that's who you want to have white when you need to draw. If you want to have white and you need to win, then Naka, Kasparov, you know, Papa John's, Shirov, Morizevich. Okay. Uzi, what's going on? No. All right. So, okay. So Naka's playing solid and safe and slightly better. And he is slightly better. All right. h5, putting it in h, giving away the g5 square. Ridiculous. All right, so white's just like much better here. Two bishops. Great. h4 is fine. King g1 is fine. This is a strange move, rook e1, because you could play bishop takes f6. All right. It traded everything. Yeah, now the engine slightly prefers black because black has e7 for his e5 for his knight. Still, this should be a draw. Always play bishop f1. Good. Still a draw. Still a draw. The engine doesn't like that move. The engine prefers rook to d3, defending the g-pawn. See, like this is Naka playing for a win when he needs a draw. Naka should play rook d3, and it's all zeros. But instead he goes here, and he probably thought after this he was better, because he thought his passed pawn would be strong. So now we have a double-edged crazy position, which is fine if you need to win, but Naka only needed to draw. And he was like, no, this is good for white. Okay, and the engine says it's fine. It's not losing. But it's pretty complicated. Yeah, now it likes black. It doesn't like b6 so much. Right, d7's good. This looks good for white because the knight is trapped. But it's actually not good for white. Yeah, I remember watching this live. Because the knight, you're going to win the knight now, but you got to take with the bishop. If you play rook takes, then rook takes bishop, and now your bishop is pinned. So rook b6 was an excellent move. And this is funny, white is in zugzwang here. It's amazing. I mean, white can't do anything. He can't move his rook, can't move his bishop, can't move his d-pawn, moves his f-pawn and gets captured. So he's stuck to moving his king, but he can't move his king. Yeah, and eventually he'll get stalemated, like rook here, pawn h2, and then he has to move one of these and lose it. So, yeah. And this is just lost two passed pawns. And he resigned. That's a nice final move, king f6, because you want to take with the rook. Take with the king, your king's really far away. So that's a funny last move. Then take with the rook. Yeah. And then resigns and Dubov. Now, if Naka needed to win that game, then I like the way he played, where he got to the pass b-pawn and Papa John's. But since he only needed to draw, he needed to play a little bit safer and less double-edged and tricky. And that's not what he wants to do. And you got to play like yourself. And unfortunately, Naka's self and Dubov's self means there's a lot of winning. And there's a lot of losing, and there's not a lot of drawing. And Naka draws a lot more than he used to, but man, Dubov doesn't. That match had no draws. There's 4 games and there were no draws. So, when you need a draw, Nepomniachtchi, Naka, those aren't the guys you want on your side that we need a draw. If you need a win, those are the guys you want on your side. So even though we make fun of Geary as much as we possibly can, and we do, if you need a draw, you want Geary. Geary's like, I'm in, put me in. He's the relief pitcher. What are you going to do? All right. So both matches are tied, and we go to a blitz. Now, they changed the rules for this event, and they've changed the rules sort of overall. It used to be after the 4 games, if it was 2-2, they play an Armageddon. Now they play 2 blitz games. Then if it's a tie, then they play Armageddon. And then Karpov comes on the air and says, Armageddon, I'm 100 years old. That's ridiculous. Okay? And then Yastra's like, I played you, and Portish and Luboyevich were watching our game, and, Ben Feingold was born a couple of years before, and we didn't know who he was. And then Karpov's like, what's wrong with you? Okay, so that's usually what happens. All right. Now, the game that had a lot of controversy was this game. Okay, and I know some of the controversy, but I don't know all of it, and you guys will fill me in the chat. Now, my understanding of what happened is at some point in the game, Ding made a move, and everybody saw Ding made a move. However, on Magnus's chessboard screen, there was no move. So he's like, la, 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 la. Okay, then all heck broke loose. Chess24, arbiters, spectators, Papa Johns, and they continued the game. And they gave Magnus his time back. Then, later in the game, with no kind of software issues, no internet issues, Magnus had what we call a brain fart, and he didn't see Ding move. Ding moved, it was normal, everything was fine, and Magnus didn't notice. So Magnus is like, la, 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 la. Now, when I'm streaming, that happens all the time. You guys make a move, and I'm reading the chat, and then I'm like, oh, my opponent moved like 3 minutes ago. That happens to me. However, if first prize is like, $100,000 and I'm playing at 2,800, that's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to look at the chat. I'm not going to miss a move. And then Magnus half jokingly tweeted, for tomorrow's game, which is today, I'm going to have the move highlighter on so I can see the highlight of the move. All right. So supposedly all that stuff happened this game. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, and also Magnus was on a boat. Yeah. The first situation happened in the previous game. Okay, that's possible. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Now, I've been told I got my metaphors mixed. Now, we're going to skip through this game because it was too boring. And they got to this position, and Ding played Rook e4 because, the pawns attacked. And the engine says this is all zeros. It says draw. White's up a pawn, but it's a doubled pawn, and it's black's turn, and white has, white's pawn's over here on queening. And it says knight d6 is equal. It says rook c8 is equal. It says king a7 is equal. And again, you guys will correct me in the chat. Magnus claimed he didn't know that Ding had moved, and he's waiting for Ding to move, and his time ran out. Now, I'm not saying that happened because I heard it. I pieced it together from sugar packets. If it did happen, as I said, as Magnus claimed, as you guys will correct me, if that did happen, I only got one thing to say. Greatest player of all time. All right. Yeah. That's right. Mike Tyson did box and oscillate. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. Greatest player ever. Yeah. He was like, it's my move. What? Now, in the 1990 World Championship, which my brother attended in New York and Lyon, half and half. In one of the games, I think I have the right World Championship match, but my brother will correct me if I'm wrong. Both sides had about 3 minutes left, approximately. In Kasparov made his move and forgot to hit the clock. Okay, and then Magnus went, good. Even though Magnus wasn't born yet. 2000. Magnus was not born yet. God damn. Oh, wait, was he? 1990? Was Magnus born in 1990, 91, 92? When was Magnus born? Anyway, so Karpov's like, la 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 la. And then all of a sudden, Ving Rhames walked in and said, motherfucker. And Kasparov's like, what? And hit the clock. And Kasparov had less than a minute on his clock and ended up like blundering and losing the game. Okay? Wait a minute. Ving Rhames didn't say that until 1994. Damn. Okay. So November 30th, 1990 was when Magnus was not alive. God damn. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You're older than Magnus? I don't know how old you are. Okay, so in this position, Magnus lost on time, and the engine says all zeros. Okay, so then Ding lost on purpose the next... No, that's what Magnus did a few tournaments ago. All right, so that game ended because Magnus forgot to... It was his turn. Okay, then Dubov and Nakamura... They played a very boring draw in a Catalan, so we'll skip that. All right, now Magnus has to win after not knowing whose turn it was. I don't know whose turn it is. Okay, Magnus is white, and it was the same thing. This, London with Bishop d6. Okay. Now, in the previous time they had this position, if you remember, it was CD, Bishop d6, DE, Papa John's. Actually, it was a different position because Magnus played knight bd2. That's why Ding could do that. Magnus played Bishop d3, so he stopped all the nonsense. Okay. And they played this very boring line, The Boring Worlds of Niels Bohr. Okay, they got this equal position. Pretty equal. Black wants to play knight b4. All right, and obviously white's position has picked up a little bit. Doesn't want to trade bishops. Man, g6. I have some stuff I want to say about g6. Now, the engine says it doesn't matter if you play g6, your game still sucks. Obviously, Magnus wants to square for his bishop here, and then this bishop sucks. And when Ding played bishop b5, he thought he was going to trade the bishops, and he didn't want to play bishop back here because Magnus could go here. So Ding put all of his eggs in one basket. As a vegan, I'm against it. Played g6. Pretty scary stuff. And the engine doesn't like it. It likes white taking all the pawns. Check and take another pawn. 4 passed pawns, 1 for each of them and his 3 brothers. All right, now I like a piece more than 4 pawns, but not when they're all passed and my bishop's trapped and my pieces are on the back rank. Then I might change my mind about it. Quality feels subscribe, thank you. Yeah, so this is very bad for black because white's got the knight here, and then he's got a lot of Papa Johns. That's too much Papa John, make you sick. All right. Lots of passed pawns. Lots of passed pawns. Lots of passed pawns. There's too many passed pawns. See, if these pawns weren't here, then it might be a draw. Although not now. But yeah. Too many passed pawns. Magnus gives all of his pawns away because he wants to make a queen. It's a good idea. All right, then he resigned because that. Yeah. So that's a very easy win for Magnus because after g6, he actually lost all of his pawns. Now, I don't want to say anything very negative about that from Ding's perspective, who got beat quite badly, because that was a blitz game. They each had 5 minutes or 3 minutes, and there's increment. Yeah. But that game, he got crushed pretty badly. And basically, like this position, I would just say is equal. They just got totally outplayed. I mean, knight here, takes, going in here, taking all of these pawns, bishop getting trapped here. Terrible. Terrible. All right. So now Ding and Magnus go into Armageddon, and Magnus made the critical mistake in the Armageddon. However, before the Armageddon, Nakamura played Dubov, and they've tied, their match is tied, and their first blitz game was a draw. So this is their second blitz game. So whoever wins this game wins the match, or they go into Armageddon if it's a draw. Okay, another Sicilian, another Rouser. This is a blitz game. Bishop d2 is a little unusual. I'm not going to say much about a blitz game. All right, if queen takes, then bishop f6 wins the queen. I said something. All right, white's slightly better in this ending, but, not much. Slightly better. Never play f6. Terrible. Engine says it's equal now. What does it like instead? Well, it likes that. It's just equal. Engine prefers black here. 2 bishops, what else? All right, that move is bad because your knight's getting trapped in here. After knight d6, the engine says black is better. Now it says it's equal. Yeah, so knight d2 is a very bad mistake. And normally when both sides have these passed pawns, 2 bishops are going to win. The bishop stopped the pawns and escort the pawns, and the knight is like, how come I'm not a bishop? So with the passed pawns on both sides, white's just winning. So basically this game ended because of knight d2 check. If you played knight d6, the engine actually prefers black. Now obviously he didn't play it, probably because of here, but after here, the bishop is defending the pawn and stopping rook d1. So white has nothing. And the knight just moves away next move and black's up a pawn. So Dubov would have been better if he had done that. After this, he's worse. Then he decided to lose both of his pawns for these pawns, and then he's just lost. So, and then this is just winning for white. Yeah, the a-pawn's too strong. Always repeat. Good job. Good a-pawn. All right, h5 queen, then resigns. Good job, Dubov. All right, so Naka wins the Blitz game. He was slightly worse. After knight d2, he was better, and he won the endgame. So it was a tale of two moves, basically. Knight d6 or knight d2, and knight d2 is terrible. Too aggressive. All right, now the game we've been waiting for, the Armageddon game from yesterday between Carlsen and Ding. And now, as you all know, and by all of you I mean about half, Carlsen was allowed to determine whether he was white or black. And he said, I guess, no. And he unusually decided to have white, because when you have white in Armageddon, you're giving draw odds. If the game is a draw, black wins. Now, there's two advantages to having white. One is you have white, and the other is you get an extra minute. White gets 5 minutes, black gets 4 minutes. The disadvantage is black gets draw odds. Most super GMs agree this is advantageous to black, and it would be more fair if white got 6 minutes and black got 4 minutes. Now, Nakamura, for reasons that only I know, and Naka knows, when you get to choose in the Armageddon, whichever color you choose, Nakamura is critical of that choice. Usually after the game. Usually for whoever lost. He's like, oh, that guy shouldn't have done that. Okay, so this game, for once, Naka was correct. Magnus was able to choose the color and he chose white. Very insulting to the opponent. He's like, Ding, I can beat him. Okay, he said, Ding's clothes, that's a lime green affair. If you guys get that reference, I mean, obviously Mark will, but if you guys get that reference, I just like when he says a lime green affair and he poo-poos it. I just like that scene. Does anybody get that reference? Anybody? Yeah. Yeah, taking white is always wrong in Armageddon. It's wrong 100% of the time. Anybody get the reference? No, that's a hard reference to get. Yeah, that's Futurama. It's the episode where Leela's in a coma, but she thinks Fry's in a coma, and she thinks Fry is dead, and this is all in her coma because of the bee that stung and went through him and got to her. And then she explains to the gang that, you know, Fry gave me his jacket, see? And then when she sees it, it's Fry's jacket. When they look at it, it's just her normal clothes. And then Professor says, that's not Fry's jacket. And he starts dissing the coat. He says, that's your coat. He says, a lime green affair. And then he like says, like, terrible. Yeah, which was true. Yeah, that's one of the Professor's best lines when he makes fun of her coat. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, 6 minutes, 4 minutes. I agree. I think if white had 6 minutes, see, here's what you want. Let me tell you what you want. You don't want that it's fair. I don't care if it's fair. What you want is half the people take one and half take the other. Now, y'all sound like a couple of bookies, you know, from Trading Places. If you're a bookie, and some of you are, here's what you want. Obviously, you know what you want. You want half the people to bet that way, and you want half the people to bet that way, and then Duke gets the commissions. That's what you want. So when you set the lines, you don't care if the lines are correct. You want half the people to bet one way and half to bet the other way. That's what you want. Okay, you don't care who wins. You don't care if your lines make sense in the reality. You want half the people to bet one way and half to bet the other way. Okay, so in chess, if you're doing an Armageddon, you want half the people to take white and half to take black. If the whole world is like, this is unfair, you take black, this is dumb, then you shouldn't do that. If everybody takes black, then Armageddon favors black. It doesn't matter if it actually favors black. You can't have everybody taking black. So as Armageddon stands now, 90% of the GMs take black. So you want to make it where it's 50-50. I believe if it was 6 minutes to 4, it would be 50-50. And in fact, I don't even know what I would do. I don't really think it's advantageous either way. So I could see arguments for both. It's nice to have 2 extra minutes. There's not a lot of time on the clock. Yeah, Papa John's. Yeah. Why does black have an advantage? If the game is a draw, black wins. Now, that's an advantage. Now, if Nigel Short was the arbiter, I don't know, because all the draws are gone away by stalemate. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so here's the game. Magnus is white. He took white. It's another, London. It's the boring world of Niels Bohr. Okay, now you can take this pawn, and then after knight d5, the engine says it's equal. All zeros. If I showed you the engine line, you would never stop crying. So I'll show it to you. Now you're threatening everything, so you take. Now the bishop's attacked. Now the engine was taking on c3. God damn. Wow. And it actually wants to play queen c1 now. Wow. And this is good for black. Although it's also equal. Queen f6, queen a5. Yeah, I don't know. This looks pretty dangerous for white. All right. I don't know. It says white's winning. It says black's winning. It says equal. I don't know. All right. Magnus didn't take on e5. He did take on e5. He played bishop g5. He didn't take again. Now the engine says black is better. So here's the thing. In this position, Magnus played pawn here, bishop here, knight here, and said you can't play e5. Then Ding played e5. And Magnus went, say, what? So psychologically, Magnus has already lost. He's like, you can't play e5. And he's like, I just played e5. So it's not good for white when you're just letting him play e5. Now black has the 2 bishops. Okay, and this is absurd. I mean, obviously black's better here. Black has 2 bishops and he's better. Right? I mean, this is ridiculous. More space. So very, very bad opening play by Magnus. Greatest player ever. Terrible. It's just 2 bishops for nothing. Bishop f1. Good move, Magnus. Maybe I misjudged you. Yeah, this is a really nice game from Ding. Bam, rook d2. Gotcha. It's funny, on the internet, it said Magnus blundered here with queen f4, and the engine just says white's lost. So I don't know. The engine plays b4, but it still says white's losing. But this just hangs a pawn. I know why Magnus hung a pawn. You guys don't know why. Why Magnus didn't see rook takes b2? Let's see if somebody in the chat knows. Why did Magnus hang that pawn on b2? Let's see who gets it in the chat. If you watch my stream, you should get it. If you don't watch my stream, you're not going to get it. That's correct, MG Weirdo. Yeah, greatest player ever, because you can't see one move ahead. Okay. Rook e3. All right. And then, obviously, black's winning, but, like, here, Magnus should resign. But, it's okay, whatever. C'est pas différence. Bishop c4, silly. It's still winning, but he's just, yeah. All right, and here, black is plus 4,000. Yeah, just c3, and the game's over. There's no perpetual check, and this pawn's going to queen. And after c3, the engine says black's plus 13. But as I said, black has draw odds. So, okay, draw. All right. Yeah, white, I mean, in all honesty, and I hate doing that, Magnus played like me that game. He played like the London, and he was like, God, stop, getting the advantage. And like he played solid and defensive and was worse and just got rolled. I mean, that's how I would lose to Ding. I would develop my pieces. He'd play e5, I'd be like, what? I'd be afraid to take it. He'd get the two bishops. I would be like defending, and then I would lose. Against me, Ding wouldn't even draw and win. He would win and we'd play c3. Yeah. Yeah, when they drew by repetition and reputation, Ding was plus 60. So, Ding won, but he won the match by repeating. Yeah. So that was an amazing game from Ding, who just sort of rolled over Magnus. And also, in game one, he rolled over Magnus, in the real game, not this Armageddon nonsense. Also, Ding had a minute less on the clock. Man, that opening didn't work out for White. God damn. All right, truth hurts. Yeah. That's right. If Ding knew if he played the winning move, he might get disconnected and lose. I was actually thinking about that earlier today. Yeah, Magnus is like, if Ding disconnects, I'll win. So then Ding played the perpetual, giving him less chance to disconnect. That is correct. Okay, and basically that was yesterday. Yesterday, that tournament seemed so far away. Today, everything was different. Okay? Yesterday, the matches both went into extra time. We didn't know who was going to win. We were waiting for our Papa John's to be delivered, which it never was, which is good for our health, that it wasn't. And then today was opposite day. Today there was none of that. All right. So I'm gonna leave for a second because I want to get to the Perrier. But I will leave the stream in good hands. Although not too many hands. With man hands. All right. Perrier, there we go. Yeah, I left the stream in good hands. Yeah. Time for screaming. Yeah, my throat's not so good. COVID. All right, we'll take a commercial break. And by that I mean we're going to talk about non-chess stuff. Okay, Major League Baseball. The Cardinals never play. How's the season going to end? Are the Cardinals going to play 25 doubleheaders in a row? The answer is fries. It's impossible for the Cardinals to play all 60 games and finish with everybody else. It's impossible. So if I was like Major League Baseball, like, official, like in the main, I would resign. I give up. Yeah. Right. The season is a joke. Right. Yeah. No, the season should end, but they can't end it. So they just sit there crying. They put themselves in a situation where they're in the Kobayashi Maru situation, like, or is it Kobe? What is it? I think I said the first word. Doesn't matter. What matters is 2 or 3 teams are not going to play 60 games, or 4 teams, or they're going to cancel the season, and then that's also the worst thing ever. All right. So I don't know. I give up. Yeah, COVID. Yeah, COVID Yashimaru. That is correct. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think college football is just not going to happen, and NFL, I mean, if I'm in the NFL, I want my $20 million a year. I understand. But you're correct. Just play baseball and see what happens. Have you ever heard of the Monty Hall problem? I am the Monty Hall problem. I not only know the Monty Hall problem, I've made up variations of the Monty Hall problem that aren't known because I made them up, that are similar, and then we scratch our head in a vain attempt to understand the situation. But do you know the theory of restricted choice, which is more interesting than the Monty Hall problem? And the answer is you don't. If you know a lot about the Bayes theorem in math, which you don't, this applies in bridge. And here's what happens. If you don't know how to play chess, and I go, a bishop's a little better than a knight, because, I'm a grandmaster. And then your friend is like, no, a knight's better. I play a lot of bug house. Whatever you learned when you're younger, it's hard to unlearn it when you're older and better. Okay? So if you were a kid and you're playing a lot of blitz chess and you're between 1,000 and 1,500 and you have a lot of friends who are in similar ages, who have similar ratings, and you hear, the dragon, that's no good for black. White just mates black. Even when you're a grandmaster, that memory is still in your head. You see what I'm saying? So the theory of restricted choice in bridge is very hard for bad bridge players and for people who don't play bridge like yourselves, because you learned the opposite when you learned how to play bridge, and you can't unlearn it. So if you're a bad player, you're just like, no. That mathematical theory, which is proven to be correct, I don't agree with that. And then you go vote for Trump, and then you go to a beach, then you go to a bar, and then you die and kill all your family. That's okay. But let me explain what the theory is, then we'll get back to the chess, because that's more interesting to me. So you and your partner in bridge have 9 cards in a suit. Let's say hearts, I don't know. And that means your opponents have 4 cards, because 9 plus 4 is 13, and there's 13 cards in a suit. And you have all the high cards, the ace and the king and so forth, but you're missing the queen and the jack. So if you play the ace, and the guy to your right has 2 hearts, and the guy to your left has 2 hearts, they both play a heart. Now you play the king, and one plays the queen, and one plays the jack, and you're like, that's right. Okay, the other possibility is one of the guys has the queen and the jack, and the other guy has the 2 small cards. So when you play the ace, the guy who has only the queen and the jack is going to play one of them, right? And you're like, oh, good thing I have this beard, okay? And there's 2 possibilities when the person, for no reason, plays the queen or the jack. One is he has the queen and the jack, and he's playing one of them. The other is he only has the queen, and his partner has the jack and the other 2 cards. Or he only has the jack, and his partner has the queen and the other 2 cards. Now, when you're taught how to play bridge, there's a dumb saying you learn called 9 never, 8 ever. Ugh. Okay, and what it means is if you're going to play the ace and then the king, when you have 9 cards and they have 4, you always do it. And when you have 8 cards and they have 5, you don't ever do that. You do what's called a finesse. Okay, but actually, because of the mathematical theory of restricted choice, when somebody plays the queen or the jack on the first round of the suit, it's actually twice as likely that their opponent has the other one, not that they do. And that's because their choice was restricted. If they play the queen or the jack, and they had the queen and the jack, they could have played either one, 50-50. If they only have the queen, they always play the queen. Because of that, when they play the queen for no reason, it's mathematically correct, if you can, to play the other guy for the jack. That's called playing the finesse. Weaker players don't understand that because weaker players were taught when you're missing 4 cards, you play the ace and the king. This is a special situation where there's 2 high cards missing and one of them is unnecessarily played. Our next bridge lesson will be on false cards. Okay, and it has to do with the Bayes and actual math. Anyway, the Monty Hall problem is simpler, but I can make it more complicated. Now, the simple one confuses people. And obviously people are easily confused because Trump became the president somehow. So that's, I can name lots of Congress people and senators, and governors to show you how stupid people are. So, all right, back to chess. I'd read the chat, but it would just make me mad reading the chat. All right, I'll read the chat and get mad. The finesse is like sacking these changes to always do it. That's good. I like that. Yeah. What do you mean by 9 never, 8 ever? If you have 9 cards in a suit and you're like, should I finesse? The answer is never. If you have 8, then you always should. The finesse is when you play one or the other player for the outstanding high card instead of just playing the ace and king and hoping the cards tumble because they don't have any left. The funniest thing in bridge is called Rabbi's Rule. This is actually funny. You're missing the king. And instead of finessing the king, you just play the ace, and one of the guys just has the king, so he plays it because he has to. That's called dropping the singleton king. That's called Rabbi's Rule. When they have the singleton king, you play the ace and drop it. Okay. It's a joke, but it's funny. It's a good joke. Okay. Yeah, actually, when I played in the Nationals a couple of years ago with Stuart Rachels and Wes Berger and Stuart's wife, in one of the matches, we played one of the leading players from England, possibly the best player in England in bridge. He's a 2200 chess player, and we talked beforehand. And he told me after a hand that I played brilliantly, but that my partner messed it up. We were defending a slam, and I false carded. And he said I would have fell for it, but your partner gave it away. And I was like, well, he doesn't know what's going on. My partner, Wes, doesn't know what's going on. But he put it on Twitter that I made a brilliant play and explained it. So I was like, all right. And then he crushed us. People never state it properly. People usually state it properly. It's confusing because people are stupid. Bridge is a lot like poker. I mean, because there's cards? Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Dementia, bad. Logic, good. Huh? I should have signaled better. That's true. Yeah. Nice. He's even better at chess than at bridge because he's 22. He quit chess like 30 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. Please tell us more stories. Oh, man. Leiko was like, onto the stream today, Leiko's like, in 2014, I played this Blitz game. And then 2015, Grishuk played this novelty. And in 2017, I went to dinner with Yasser and his wife. Then in 2018, I predicted COVID would happen later. And then Yasser's like, in 1962, Bent Larson made a joke, and I was like, what? And then he finished the joke, and I was like, all right. If you were watching the commentary, that was a true story. Yeah. Yeah, Yasser was like Yasser had more Bent Larson stories than usual. That I didn't understand that. Usually Yasser's got Portish and Karpov and Kasparov and Luboyevich, but he was Larson today. It was all about Larson. Man. Yeah, exactly. He could have talked about, yeah. Okay, so this was today. This was the first game. Okay, they played this very weird variation. All right. And they were blitzing it out. I've seen Wesley So play this with black. And they actually mentioned a So game. Well, obviously, Leiko mentioned the So game, not Yasser. All right. And they were... Now, Bishop F4, it seemed like Ding started thinking here. So maybe he didn't know Bishop F4. Bishop F4 is a novelty. I don't know. But this is the first time Ding thought. All right. And they trade everything. And it's the boring world of Niels Bohr. All right. And they got this drawn ending where white's better because white's rooks are better. The bishop's better than the knight. The fact that black has more pawns than white means he has more weak pawns. This is a draw. I mean, it should be a draw. Okay. Magnus always wins these drawn end games. All right, a5 is fine. Bishop c5 is fine. Everything's fine. Okay, now this move is also fine. I can't complain about that. Okay, rook b7 is good. The engine says black is equal, just doing fine here. Black wants to play rook here and win over here. Okay, so Magnus stops it. Rook b8. So the engine doesn't like rook b8. Rook b8 just seems to lose a tempo. This is a very tricky position, and it looks really simple and boring, but it's really tricky and exciting. So what he should play, he should take the rook on b1, force the king back, then play e3, which I'm sure he didn't look at because that looks crazy, and then play the move e5. The reason he's playing e3 is he wants the knight to go to e4. Okay, and actually, the engine prefers black here. Normally you go here and you harass these pawns, but I can just defend this pawn, and here comes knight e4. Now, knight e4 was never coming before, but now it is. Okay, and this is probably a draw, but the engine actually wants to have black. Okay, so so Magnus got nothing out of the opening, but in the endgame, he just completely outplayed Ding. Ding played this, which is a minor mistake. Okay, and then rook d6 is good, attacking the pawn. I'd like to play knight e4 at some point, but I can't. I'd like my rook to defend my pawn. Now you see the problem with the rook on b7, how it's worse than on b8. If black could play rook c8 here, that would be okay, but rook c7 walks into this fork. So the doubling up of the rooks was very bad for Ding, because Ding's rook is worse on b7, because he can't play rook to the c file defending his pawn, and the king is better on c2 than b1. So rook here was rook b8 was a bad move. He should have taken Magnus's rook on b1. Okay, knight d7 is okay. Knight e5 is okay. The engine prefers rook c7 to knight takes c4, but I don't blame him. Knight takes c4 is okay. All right, and knight b2 is probably losing. I don't know. This is probably going to transpose. Yeah. Okay, now, whenever you have these positions where you're worse and you have to decide whether to defend like a punk or you're not going down like no punk and you go crazy, whichever one you do, the engine says is wrong. All right. And normally somebody like Geary just defends, and eventually loses or draws. And Ding decided not to do that. Okay. And in this position, after check, he gave all of his pawns away to get some kind of initiative that didn't materialize. So he tried, but he failed miserably. The lesson is never try. He played rook c4, allowing rook a7 check. And the engine's like, help, king e8, I'm scared. And Ding's like, I'm not going down like no punk. So he just went down like in flames, like quickly. Yeah. So he just lost all of his pawns because he wanted to get counterplay. All right. So, black gave all his pawns away. And he's playing for counterplay. And he got one last trick in. He played the move rook e2. And the idea is, if it was black to move, which it's not, black would play knight b5 attacking the rook. And then black has this perpetual. Knight c3, knight a2, knight c3, knight e2. And you can't play king a1 because of mate. Okay. And so white's queening all of his pawns, but black has a threat. Taking the knight is bad because now this pawn is good, this pawn is hanging, and the engine says white's still winning. So that's how bad it is. It's a really dumb move to take that because you're helping black a lot, but it's still winning. But anyway, after rook e2, Magnus sees that this is the idea, and he stops both moves. God damn. Okay, and this is why he's Magnus. He stops all the counterplay. The engine doesn't care about the counterplay. The engine's like, whatever, I'll stop the counterplay later. Magnus plays rook c7. Obviously, the knight can't go to c3 anymore. And if the knight could go to c3, Magnus stopped that too. So now, there's no counterplay for black. And, okay, I got 3 passed pawns. So now he resigned. So Ding was slightly better, probably, for a couple moves. then it was equal, then he was slightly worse, then he lost. That's the patented Magnus way of winning. Much better than yesterday. And Ding isn't the kind of guy to just give all of his pawns away and then play for a couple of tricks. That wasn't good. Especially when the tricks don't work. Now, that's why when you're Super GM, you don't want to play weaker players. Because then you start to play for tricks because those tricks work. And so, you want to play a high level player all the time so that you have to play correctly. So maybe if Ding was playing me, I would be like, man, Ding's probably going to check and stop my pawn, but that doesn't work. Then when he goes here, I'm like, oh my God, he's got that perpetual. Okay. By the way, this is also winning for white. And then always sack the exchange, which obviously I would do. And then, Papa John's. And even if he blunders, he wins. Even in the future, nothing works. See, I would have won the game this way because I always sack the exchange. Yay. And then Papa John's. Yeah, pretty good passed pawns. Pretty good. Okay, that was game 1 today from Magnus and Ding. Then we have game 1 from Hikaru and Dubov. Hikaru won the match yesterday. Trying to make it 2-0. All right, this game went on and on and on and on and on and on and on. I'll just tell you what they played as Sveshnikov. I'll tell you what Leiko said. Leiko had some stuff to say. Yeah. So Leiko was talking about all kinds of variations in this line from like when he was playing one side or the other. And then other stuff happened that was similar. And he was like, yeah, eventually white's winning, so black has to get this counterplay. Otherwise, this pawn's going to win. So he played queen here, stopping the pawn. And then he played the move bishop d8, which bishop is also doing a lot here. And it was funny, he played b5, and the reason is if you take, there's rook here, and you can't break the pin, so you lose. So he played f5, which is the counterplay. And then he took on b5. This is very funny. So after rook here, which was not played, takes, now the knight's not defended. And the previous variation before f5, the knight was defended, so you couldn't do that. Okay, and then rook fd1 was played. Now the knight is defended, so you can't play here because I take. So now he moved his bishop just so he could defend his rook. In this position, the bishop is pinned because you take the rook. After bishop here, the bishop's not pinned. And maybe we'll play some check later. I don't know. Okay. And obviously this is the good knight, bad bishop. And he played an excellent move, queen a4, which threatens knight c7 and queen takes bishop. So bishop d8 was played. And they got to this really nice ending for white. Okay, where white's obviously going to win a pawn and have an extra pawn. Problem is the pawns are all on one side of the board. And Dubov played great. Bishop here and rook f8. And then he can't take the knight because of mate. And he can't checkmate now because the bishop and the rook defend f8. Okay, and this should be a draw, but it's, like 50% white wins, 50% draw. If two engines are playing, it'll be a draw because all the pawns are on the same side of the board. Leiko thought in practice that white would probably win because it's too hard to suffer for so long. Like, suffering's no fun. But suffer he did. Rook and 3 against rook and 2 is a draw, so white's always making sure to keep on the minor pieces. And, black wants white to trade the minor pieces. Looks like white's making progress. Unfortunately, making progress with his king left this pawn weak, so he's going to try to mate black. And the engine says there's nothing. The engine says it's just a draw. Checking the king away. Good. And there's no mate. He tried to mate, but he failed miserably. If you check, I could play king d8 and draw, or I could just take with the bishop, which also draws. And now the engine doesn't stop because you can legally win. So Nakamura had to give his knight away so the game would end. Otherwise, they could play forever. So very good defense by Dubov. And basically, that opening didn't work out for him, and he was just worse the whole game. Then he was in a really bad ending, and then he defended well. And normally, in those endings, that's my bread and butter. It's vegan, the bread and butter. But, people don't defend well, and you just keep pressing and pressing and pressing and pressing, especially when there's not very much time on the clock. As Leiko said, you would expect White to win, but Dubov defended well. So he drew the game, which was a fair result, but it was a lot of suffering. I mean, he was worse the whole game, and he was very lucky to draw. Back to the drawing board for that opening. Okay, now the next game was not very well analyzed by Yasser and Leiko, but I'll analyze it correctly for you. Okay, so the whole game, they were like, Magnus is a genius, and I wish I was Magnus, and have you ever even seen Magnus? Do you have his autograph? Did Ding resign yet because Magnus is so good? And that's what they were saying the whole game. What was actually happening was Ding was outplaying Magnus, and Ding was better. That's what actually was happening. And then Ding made like 4 mistakes in a row. Then I think Ding mouse slipped. They didn't mention the mouse slip. Ding's last move makes no sense. However, a very similar move does make sense. So I think Ding mouse slipped and then resigned. That's what I think happened. But they were too busy singing Magnus's praises to even look at the. I don't want to look at this game. Let's talk about Magnus. All right. I guess they're working for Chess 24. I don't know. Okay, so they had a really boring Italian, and Magnus was getting outplayed. White got spaced on the queen side, and Magnus' play wasn't very good. A5 is not a good move. Yeah. And this is just excellent for White. Yeah, and Rook E6 to G6 is silly. Any engine you have just says White's much better the whole game. It doesn't like the way Magnus is playing at all. White's up a pawn. White has the B file. That's a stupid place for the rook. This knight maneuver was really nice. And White's just better. Okay. But okay, White, Rook B8 is terrible. Okay. And the next few moves wasn't so great from Ding, but it's okay. They were like Bishop D4, Magnus is the greatest ever. Who could find, and the engine just says Magnus' position is terrible. Okay. So, yeah. All right, so White's up a pawn. White has doubled up here. White has this. It's just great. Now, if you play knight d4, which is like a normal looking move, I can just play queen here. If you trade queens, you're just losing all your queenside pawns. You got nothing. And your rook's no good. You can't, terrible. This is already lost. So Magnus played knight takes a5. And so far, this has been a clinic on White getting a big advantage. Okay? And then in this position, the engine says White's up +2. And Leiko and Yasser are like, I can't believe that we live in a time where Magnus Carlsen exists. They were like, Magnus is so good. Look at that isolated pawn. And they went on and on and on and on. And I'm like, Magnus' position is terrible. Okay. Now, the next 8 moves, Ding plays terribly. All right. So that's the greatest knight ever. And he plays knight here. That's a very bad move. We want to have the knight here because at some point we want to take this. And if this knight moves away, there's some positions we have this knight fork when black gets too frisky. G3 is the correct move because then when knight d4, we can move our queen away. There's no queen g2 mate. And after g3, knight d4, queen e3, the engine says White's winning. Other moves are also good. a5, knight takes a5, knight takes c7 is good. Okay. King h2. Anything's good. Knight e3 is no good. Knight e3 is a terrible move. It defends g2. So after knight d4, we can move our queen and defend g2. That wasn't the way to do it. So knight e3 is just a terrible blunder. b6 is okay. Knight f5 is okay. Rook a8 is okay. Right. Now Magnus plays queen f4, which is, not the best move. And here, Ding just plays terribly. After queen d1, the position's equal. I'd rather have black, but I do like the knight on f5. And the engine just says this is equal. Queen d1, all zeros. Okay. White's going to play g3 soon, and the queen defends the a-pawn. Okay. Instead, queen takes, which is bad, giving the e5 square away. Then after d4, Magnus played a very nice exchange sacrifice. Always sacrifice the exchange. Okay, very nice. Okay, and black, and this position is either equal or slightly better for black. White should defend the pawn, and black has excellent compensation for a pawn. The engine slightly prefers white now, but I don't prefer white. I think black's better. I think the more the engine looks at it, it's going to say black's better. Instead, he went crazy with c5. Okay, so if d takes c5, then d6, and we're crashing through. That's the idea. This is still good for black. Magnus played bc. Obviously, white's going to play rook b7 here. The engine plays rook e2 and defends the pawn, because c5 is a little crazy. And after rook b7 or rook e2, black's probably close to winning, because c5 is insane. And instead of playing rook b7, I'm pretty sure he just mouse slipped. Played rook b8, which makes no sense. Why do you play rook b8? I think it's a mouse slip. I think he meant to play rook b7. And then he resigned. Okay, I mean, he's lost. I wouldn't resign, but... So they were just saying this was the greatest masterpiece of all time, and Magnus is the greatest, and, Magnus this, Magnus that. Basically, Magnus was outplayed most of the game, and then Ding played knight e3, which is terrible. Ding traded queens, which was wrong. Ding played c5, which was awful. Then Ding mouse slipped and resigned. That's what actually happened. And before that, the first 25 moves of the game was just Ding outplaying Magnus. So, Magnus doesn't play this stupid like a lot of the other players do. This is his biggest advantage. It's very rare to see Magnus just play stupid. He might get outplayed. It might be a draw. He might win. But Magnus doesn't go like, terrible move, terrible move. He doesn't do that. And a lot of these guys do that sometimes. They play great, then the next game they play terrible. The next game they play great, next game they play terrible. And Magnus doesn't do that. Magnus just plays okay. And this game, Magnus got outplayed. And then when they both had like 4 minutes left, Ding just played terrible and lost. Okay, and the positions where they were praising Magnus, he was playing worse than Ding and wasn't playing well. So, I mean, Magnus knows that too. Magnus knows. Ding knows, but the commentators are like, wow, Magnus is the greatest. Okay, so not a good game, but Magnus keeps his head under pressure, and his opponents do not often. Very often. Frankly, terrible. Bring back Boris Spassky. Okay, then it's already 11, so that game was a draw, that game was a draw, Papa John's. Okay. And then after the draw and Nakamura and Dubov drew again, Nakamura won the last 2 games. And he won the match today, and he beat Dubov. He's up 2-0. We'll look at the 2 decisive games that Nakamura won, and then I'll go home like a grandmaster. To the grandmaster bedroom, obviously, frankly. All right. They did it again. Let's see. This is the same, right? This is the exact same game? Yeah. Okay, so I think Nakamura played bishop c4, bishop d8, b5 in the game we just looked at like 20 minutes ago today. And then this was the next game that Naka was white, and he played bishop e2 instead of bishop c4. F5, takes, B5. So white's doing better this game. D6 is weak. B pawn's looking good. Rook F8's good, attacking the pawn. This is all good. And yeah, I mean, this is basically black just playing for tricks. This pawn's going to win eventually. Black's going to play for tricks. And if the tricks are successful, he'll be okay. But his position's not good. Yeah, in the long term, it's just a bad position. All right, and now white's just winning. There's no tricks. There's no tricks that will work. Yeah, the truth hurts. That B pawn's pretty good. Yeah, now he threatened the queen and knight c6, so he resigned. That was a much better game for Naka than the first time they played the line, because he didn't get his B pawn up here. Black got more counterplay. That was a much better. And usually what happens in these events, I'm not saying it happened here, is when there's a break between games, the players talk to their people, their seconds, their coaches, their friends, who are analyzing the games in between, and they're like, Naka, in game 1, you should have done this on move 12, 15, 18, 20, and he's like, thanks. And then usually it doesn't happen, but then it looks like it happened. It looks like somebody told Naka, hey, bishop e2 is better than bishop c4 because of blah, blah, blah. And he said, all right, it probably won't happen again. And maybe somebody told Dubov, hey, instead of what you did, you should have done this. And Dubov's novelty was later, after bishop c4, and Dubov didn't look at bishop e2. And Hikaru increased his advantage, and Dubov couldn't deal with it. So very, very good. That's what I assume happened, since he didn't play another move. He played bishop e2. Okay, now Dubov has to win again, and Dubov's white. And then they go into like Blitz playoff and stuff or something. Okay, Dubov's white, must-win game. He plays the center game. Terrible. Not the Vienna. All right, so we transpose to a center game. Bishop f4 is weird. You're always trying to castle early. He's like, castle early, I'll take your f-pawn early. Now, what's funny is, in this game, Naka's black, and he needs a draw. And instead of, playing solid and equal and trying to draw, he's just playing like Naka. And you got to play like yourself. So he's playing like interesting, complicated chess, and so is his opponent. But he's trying to play the right move. And taking the pawn, that's the right move. So he's like, oh, I'm up a pawn. Yeah. What you got? And black's position is pretty solid. Stops bishop b5. He figures if they castles the same way as his opponent, he won't get in trouble with his king. Yeah, and this is just, the engine says it's equal, but I think any grandmaster would take black here up a pawn. He gets rid of the two bishops, still has his extra pawn. The knight has the e6 square, the knight has the e4 square. That move looks ridiculous. Why can't he just move his rook? He should move his rook. Yeah, this is a terrible move. Undermining the knight. Very good. That undermined the knight all right. And then white just resigned because white can't do anything. You can never play knight c6. You can never play knight b5. And okay, black's crashing through. And the engine says black is +7. So that game, instead of playing interesting and really well and incisive, he played interesting but not well and not incisive. Dubov, I mean. And basically this match was Dubov played great the first game of the match yesterday, and the rest of the match, not so good. Now, these players are all really good, and it's not really surprising that somebody wins a lot and loses a lot. So you could say, well, Hikaru won the first match, and that was close. This match was not close, so Hikaru's going to wrap it up tomorrow. Maybe, but, Dubov might decide he's going to play great tomorrow. And maybe Nak will have an off day. So Ding and Carlsen, I don't know. Carlsen really crushed Ding today. Terrible play by Ding. And good play by Carlsen. So Carlsen's match with Ding is tied 1-1. They're going to play at least 2 more days, possibly 3. Naka's up 2-0. The only way for Dubov to win is to win all 3 of the next matches. Extremely unlikely. Probably less than 10%. And then they'll have the finals after that. If the finals go all the way to the end, 7 matches, it'll end on August 20th. So this will never end. They always start at 10 a.m. our time. Chess24 does live commentary. Chess.com has live commentary on Hikaru's channel with his gang, the Hikaru gang. Usually there's 3 or 4 of them. And I think some of the streamers are doing commentary sometimes. Sometimes Rosen, sometimes Anamaya, sometimes. And even somebody else might be doing commentary. I used to do commentary, but I can't wake up that early, and I don't want to do 5 hours of commentary and make $1 an hour. If I'm going to make $1 an hour, I want to do it at night when I'm awake. So that's the way to do it. I didn't look at all the games live and follow with a fine-tooth comb, but I noticed some of it. And so far, Ding hasn't been forfeited in a game for losing his internet, and I believe he's been forfeited every tournament for losing his internet, at least once. So if you're a betting man, tomorrow, maybe tomorrow. Yeah. And then there'll be more controversy, people like that. So there you go. Also, I think, I'm not saying I'm right, I think Dubov is no longer at the candidates. I think he's back in Moscow. Dubov's confused. He's been at that hotel for 2 months. He's like, why am I home? Yeah. Commentary for the final? Never. I'll never do commentary. Yeah. Anyway, that was a recap of some of the games. The games are very interesting because of the time control. If the time control was much slower, they would be less interesting. But, with rapid chess, you get a lot going on. Lots of decisive games, lots of brilliant moves, a few blunders, a few disconnections. You know how it is. Big money. Let me stop. $6. That's a lot more than usual, Xenoid. You must have liked that, what was going on there. All right, before we rate anybody, let's get a train going. That's the most fun. And while you're doing that, I can analyze the situation here. Wait, who am I rating? What? Let's see. He's streaming. She's streaming. Rashkel Kalinov subscribed. Good. Naka can't beat Magnus. Didn't Naka already beat Magnus like 2 tournaments ago? Didn't he already do that? Then he lost to Dubov. Truth hurts. Also, we have 1,898 subscribers. So if we can get a train going to end the stream, I'll get my 1,900 subscribers. Yeah. Let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 people streaming that I follow. I prefer to raid people who are not on Lead Chess, who are on chess.com. Man, they're all on Lead Chess. God damn. There's 2 people, quote unquote people. Actually, I'm not sure what that person's doing. And then that's doing that. I think I'm going to raid that quote unquote person if we get a train. If we don't get a train, then I'm not going to raid anybody. Rawr. Right, and CL Smith, who I want to raid, he's on Lead Chess. Terrible. Trying to learn, let's see. Freddie Potzer donated 100 cents to dues. Have you ever beat a super GM? Oh my God. Nobody knows. Barely a raid. That's right. Let's see. All right, well, nobody's starting the train, so that means nobody gets raided. Rawr. That'll show you guys. That'll punish somebody. Let's see. I never read the chat this stream. Let's see. What'd you guys say? ICC, Queen C8, kicking himself. Missing Queen C7 with an instant win. Yeah, Queen C8 attacks the knight, but Queen C7 attacks the A-pawn with check. My engine says Queen C7 is worse than Queen C8. It says Queen E8. It says that's the instant win. Is that what you guys meant? queen e8, because then after knight e6, and I take this, now I'll double up on the bubble up. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see why even this is a lot better. It's better, because the engine says so, but yeah. Everything wins here. Queen e8 wins, queen c8 wins, queen c7 wins. Doesn't matter. Papa John's. Yeah, queen c8, double X clam. Wait, he didn't play queen c8, did he? Because then there's knight takes g6. Now I'm getting confused. Let's see. Let me go back and paste. Yeah, he played queen e8. That was the best move. Queen c7. What are you guys talking about? When was he mad? Is this a different game you guys are talking about? I hope so. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Wasn't queen c7 a different game? Oh, it's a different game, yeah. 2 games back. God damn. Terrible. Naka was complaining about the games that he won. I do that too sometimes. All right, looks like no train, so that means no raid. All right, see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm on Chess TV from 9 to 11, unless they take me off, and I stream from 8 to 11. And tomorrow at 7 p.m., Spencer's doing his lecture. It's a series, and it starts at 7, ends at 7:45-ish. He usually goes till 8. And then I start streaming at 8. And then a lot of people show up at 9 from Chess TV. What's he's streaming on? Oh, I know what it is. It's Unusual Sicilians, where white doesn't go into the main lines. So tomorrow is e4, c5, knight a3. The Shabalov variation. Shabalov used to play it a lot, then he sort of stopped. Knight a3, c4. That's his lecture tomorrow. Then he'll be lecturing on other stuff the next few weeks, like bishop e2 or f4 or, you know, stuff like that. Queen, no, not queen h5. King e2, no. But just unusual. In fact, one of it is on this. Yeah. So his next 4 lectures are going to be white playing anti-Sicilians, not playing the open Sicilian main line, but, you know, knight here and bishop here and Papa John's. Stuff like that. Oh, it's a hype train. Basic practice, 500 centidues. Hooray. Anti-Sicilian, it's like the Uncle Sicilian. It's similar. All right, go train. Man, the train's pretty slow. Let's look at Streamlabs and see how bad this stream's been. Was this Monday night? Monday night, not good. Nope, not good at all. I knew I should have taken that job at Burger King, but it didn't smell good there. So I don't know. Go, everybody watching. All right, we got that guy streaming, that guy. We got that guy. We got that guy. That guy's not on Lead Chess or on chess.com because he's streaming poker. The close Sicilian is an anti kind of Sicilian. I'm not sure if he's going to lecture on that. Tomorrow's lecture is only on the knight a3. If you follow on Discord, or on my Discord, or you follow me on Twitter, there's a flyer that we put there for the event tomorrow, how to sign up and watch and all that stuff. Mainly all that stuff. Yeah. Exactly. Go Bays. He's the best. Yeah. It's the Monty Hall problem. Monty Hall's never been so famous. And the truth hurts. You don't have to be a Marilyn Vaux savant to understand it, although it helps. Anybody? I've never signed off a stream in the middle of a train, but I'm getting close to doing it. Go train. Why knight a3? The only way to find out, Frosty Balrog, is to go to the lecture tomorrow. That's the only way to do it. The lecture's on Zoom. When you sign up, you get a Zoom link, and then people are on Zoom. And then if a Mitsubishi goes by, it says zoom, zoom, zoom. Stuff like that. Yeah. Level 1, go level 1. Level 1's better than usual. Yeah, I agree, Mark. The Cardinals aren't going to finish the season, and, you know, nobody wants to see the Marlins anyway. Go Braves, go Tigers. The Tigers keep missing series with the Cardinals. Anybody? Anyone? If I stop streaming during the train, does the train end? I guess it does. Man, I could have saved 3 minutes by stop streaming 3 minutes ago. Darn. Are they registered for Spencer's class? I don't know. Go to Twitter and go to Discord and figure it out. You can also go to atlchessclub.com, and we have flyers there for our events. Not sure if there's a flyer there for that one. There may be. I'll tweet and I'll Discord the flyer tomorrow, like I always do. And Karen might put exclam class and make it easy for people. Let's see what exclam class does now. That link will work, even though that's a lecture from a year ago. That'll still work. Exclam class. Go to that link and you can register. Jimbo Matthews making sure I can't leave. Boo. I mean, thanks for the subs. Okay, so now I think we have over 1,900 subs for the first time in a week. 1901, that's correct. Now, if Adam Wallace shows up in the next 5 minutes, we can get to 2,000 subs. Yeah, the Washington team changed their name from the Washington Redskins to the DC Redskins. Let's see, what other math can I teach you guys? Man, you guys are tough to teach math to. Statistics. More bridge. Also poker statistics. Hooray. The Washington football team. Good morning from Germany. Hello, Germany. Is it time to learn about false carding and bridge? It is time. Exactly. One time, I was playing against Wes and his partner Paul, who I know really well. And they both signaled each other where one of them had to be lying about how many cards they had in his suit. So I was like, all right, Paul's lying because Wes doesn't know how to lie. And so I played the hand like that, and it was wrong. And Wes claimed that he was intentionally trying to trick me, which doesn't sound like Wes. Sounds like Wes just forgot their carding and just, played the wrong card. That's what it sounds like. But I can't prove it. Frosty Balrog gave 10 subs. If we can get 9 of you to do that, I can stay here another hour. Even if 3 of you do it, I'll do it. Yay! 10 subadoos. Now it's going to make noise for a long time. Gifted a sub to Puzzle Pawn. Puzzle Pawn's not a sub? I'm already mad at him. Man. DB Cooper's not a sub? Well, that actually makes sense. All right, if somebody gives 100 centidues, we get to level 5. How do you cheat at bridge? You cheat at bridge by illegally conveying information to your partner. However, one of the top players in Canada about 10 years ago, maybe more than 10 years ago, maybe more than 10 years ago, he cheated at bridge by going to the bridge hands before the match and looking at them. He cheated. He extra cheated. The normal way to cheat is you see your cards and then you give signals to your partner like, I have 4 hearts and I have a good hand and I have a club void. That's how you cheat. Yeah. Then there's really complicated ways of cheating, which you guys won't understand. But there's a lot of ways to cheat at bridge. So that's why they use screens and they do stuff. Then the Italians used to kick each other, so they made sure they couldn't kick each other. That was in the 60s and early 70s. So, yeah, now there's cheating in bridge, but it's harder. There's not any money in bridge tournaments, so cheat for other reasons, for fame. Is that kind of cheating legal? No, it's really illegal. Yeah. Yeah, doing anything that conveys information that you're not supposed to convey. Like if I put my hand on my heart and go and like scratch, that means I have at least 4. That's incredibly illegal. Yeah. The way that I saw cheating a few years ago, which I'd never heard of because I don't cheat at bridge, is the way the guy laid the dummy out gave not the way the guy laid the dummy out. The dummy was laid out and the defender would fix the dummy or do something with his hand, and that conveyed information about his hand. There was a lot of stuff like that. There's been a lot of people who've cheated at bridge in the last, so many years. If you're already a world-class player and you cheat, now you're doing well. Like if I cheated at bridge, it wouldn't matter. We would be a little bit better, I guess. But if a world-class player cheats, now you're talking. Now you're playing some good bridge. Yeah. Freddie Potzer gifted a sub to I Am Rosen. Go I Am Rosen. But stay there. Yeah. Viewer challenges 0 to 10 unrated. What does 0 to 10 mean? What am I supposed to do? Go Freddie Potzer. 300 centidues from Rufus Blunder. I missed it. Now, it'd be interesting, like, if you took somebody who's top 20 in the world, anybody in chess, and then, unknowings to everybody else, they, I think I made that word up. They would, look at an engine, like, twice a game. Like, I move 15, they just go look at the engine. I'm like, all right. They see with the variations, they see the evaluation. Then I move 30, they do it again. So it's very little cheating. It might not even help. It might not even affect the game at all. Or it could affect the game a lot. But it certainly wouldn't hurt. So somebody like that, if they were, 30 points better, that could be the difference between like number 7 and number 2 in the world. Could be. Like very little cheating. As little as possible. Obviously, if you have the engine the whole game and you use it, then, that's some good cheating. Just very little cheating. You're a sub. Hooray. Raid ignored. That's me. There was a raid. You're right. Who raided me? I still don't see who raided me. Freddie Potzer gift. Who raided me? I'm looking for the raid. I don't see it. I Am Rosen raided with 625. God damn, I missed that. Man, Eric, I was just talking shit about you. I was like, you suck, and your whole organization sucks. And I'm going to come kick your... But now you're the greatest person ever. Man. No, the reason I was talking bad about Rosen for hours and hours was all this shit talk that he does. He's always like, I can beat Magnus. Not me, him. He's like, I beat Magnus already. I beat him again. And, I'm the best player who ever lived. And it's just politics. I don't get the GM title. And I'm the best streamer who ever lived. And then he went on some, like, terrible rant of just nonstop swearing and screaming. And I was like, dude, calm down. And then he got a knock at the door as the police telling him to be quiet. The neighbors were complaining. And I couldn't put up with that. And I'm like, look, Eric, you got to chill out. But after that raid, Eric, you're the greatest person ever. Sounds accurate. That is correct. Yeah. Yeah, come on, Eric. You got to relax. All right. He's one of the top Eric streamers. He's one of the top, right? Like I'm the second best Benjamin after Benjamin Bach in streaming. He's one of the top. Yeah. He said your mother. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Yeah. It was the only thing that was unclear to me is who trash talks more and is more aggressive in their stream. Is it Eric Rosen or is it John Bartholomew? I couldn't decide. Yeah. Exactly. Spades is a game for children. Bridge is a game for, kings and noblemen. This is a very, that kind of stream. Yeah. Sit-down comedy is correct. God damn. Not going to stand up. That's another thing. Eric's always shoving it in my face that he can stand up. Just because I can't stand up doesn't make you better than me. Well, okay, maybe. Yeah. Rap battle. That's right. Smack off would be good. No, definitely John Bartholomew and Eric Rosen have to have a trash talking contest. Definitely. Yeah, that would be good. All right, let's go Hype Train. We got that huge raid. The night's on A3. There's going to be a lecture tomorrow. You can sign up for it with this wrong information here. But the signing up is correct. Just everything before it is wrong. Although it does say 6:45 p.m. You see the last sentence, register online, just read that sentence. Don't read anything else. Where it says register online by 6:45, do that. That's tomorrow. Then when the class is over, then I stream at 8 o'clock. That's right. Rosen's left-handed? Maybe. Yay, the Hype Train. Go Hype Train. You guys are the best. You're my favorite whatever. All right, challenge me 10-second unrated. I feel generous. All right, as long as it's unrated, because, you know, something. Yay, I'm the best. It says I played perfect every move except for one thing. Yay. It says you played great. 7 blunders, 2 missed wins. 7 blunders is a lot in a 16-move game. That's like Eric Rosen territory. Thanks for the raid, Eric. You're the best, even though you left 20 minutes ago. Eric Rosen, my favorite streamer of all time, including myself. That's how much I like him. It's LeBron Aronian. What? Damn, the guy's always stopping mate. How does he do it? He stopped mate every move. That was genius. The guy's too good. Yay, I won. 1 mistake, 4 blunders. A back and forth game, but you were quicker. 1 mistake, 4 blunders, 1 missed win. I missed a win? Queen G8. All right, I did great that game. I had more time than my opponent. That's the fastest you can play. I had 9.37 seconds left after 7 moves. So that's good. 100 centidues. What are good openings for 900 rating horrible players? What if you're a 900 rated world champion? Then what? Trying to break the 4-digit. All openings are good. Just play what you like. Play things you enjoy playing. Yeah. I am Rosen. He's here. Get used to it. Thanks for all the constructive criticism. That is correct. Yeah. You stepped out for a moment. No. See, he's rubbing it in my face again. He's like, I stepped out, showing that he could get up if he wants. Right? When I tried to get up, I wanted to get another Perrier. It took me like an hour to, figure out how to do it. With this chair and all. Yay, screaming that mic. That is correct. How many games have I memorized? I don't know, like 6. Yeah. Eric, how many times have we played in tournaments? I only remember once. There's no way we only played once. I was black and you were like plus 75 the whole game and then I won in 1,000 moves. Did we play another game? That's the only, in St. Louis, that's the only game I can remember. Rated game, the FIDE rated, USCF rated, whatever. You're trying, that was just the one time? That was a very high level game. See, that game was very important because Eric and I proved that we weren't cheating. Nobody said, "Oh, those guys are no." Oh no, never mind. Yeah, yeah. That game featured lots and lots and lots of errors. Lots of errors. God damn. No, I can't share the game with this Rosen. You'll think we're both 1200. Yeah, terrible. I can't play Eric anymore unless he gives me like a rook odds or something. Then I could play him. If it was rook odds, I could play Eric. I'd have a chance. Not much of a chance. Yeah. Oh my God, you got to be kidding me. I mean, I didn't move for like 5 seconds there. 3 mistakes, 6 blunders, 2 missed wins. It was a good game. I just couldn't play that game. I couldn't make any moves. I was stuck. All right, next game. Nobody's challenging me. That was the revenge game after I lost. Oh my God. How could you be Mr. Defense with that kind of defense? And using my picture? That's your defense? A6, B6, C6? I'll show my game with Eric on the stream at some point. When it was terrible. Wait, what's this say? 0.10 seconds with 3-second increment. What? That's not what I said. Man, GM Simon is always challenging me at the wrong time control. Yeah, nobody's challenging me. Okay, this guy challenged me again. Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Damn, I should have fixed it. Zero mistakes. 0 mistakes, 1 blunder. Seems like I played worse than that. Still theory. 2 mistakes, 4 blunders, 1 missed win. That was a French defense? This is a French defense? What? Man, it just says French defense. That's all it says. Yeah. No, because then I'll lose all my pieces. No. Let's see. 4 mistakes, 7 blunders, 1 missed win. Good. Look at my good control of the dark squares. I don't see what the issue is. Still theory. Who's Penguin? What's his Twitch name? Moist Critical? Oh, not that Penguin. Zero mistakes, 6 blunders, 2 missed wins. Yeah, these are fun. Not too fun. Yay. 0 mistakes, 6 blunders, 1 missed win. 25 moves and I had 3.1 seconds left. That's good for me. 2 mistakes, 3 blunders. I had 7 seconds left to 0. Yay, I'm the fastest. And or something. I was working on my night moves. 2 mistakes, 6 blunders, 1 missed win. I am playing faster than you guys, except for the game I lost. Like checkers. What? Let's see. Something. Penguin. Change. Berserk mode. I was Berserk before you guys were born. Zero mistakes, 3 blunders, 1 missed win. But I am playing faster. Yes. 5 mistakes, 6 blunders, 1 missed win. I thought I played pretty well. What country is this? Chile. Hooray! I wonder if I played well that game. That was good. I played 31 moves and I had 5.6 seconds left. 3 mistakes, 6 blunders, 1 missed win. Hooray, I didn't stalemate him. Make all those moves. Yay. I actually played a mate and said it before I played it. 1 mistake, 1 blunder, 1 missed win. But very slow play by me. Is that the only mate in 1? H4's mate. I didn't see H4. Yay. That was the best game. Don't forget to donate. The more you donate, the funnier I play. .1 second to 0. That's close. Hit the 2 bishops. What else? 4 mistakes, 5 blunders, 0 missed wins. You were saved by the clock. Exclam. 2 mistakes, 8 blunders, 2 missed wins. Pretty good. And who's faster? That's Simon Williams, right? That's correct. Nobody's challenging me. Babies. Two mistakes, 5 blunders, 1 missed win. I forgot about queening my pawn. What happened? Why did I forget about it? I thought I queened it, then when I didn't, I did some other stuff. Man, do you accept challenges from under 500s? Only from under 500s. That's the only people I accept challenges from. One mistake, 1 blunder. That game I actually tried to play well. It cost me on time, obviously, but something. Still theory. 2 mistakes, 7 blunders, 1 missed win. A chaotic game where both players had many chances to win is correct. One mistake, 10 blunders, 1 missed win. 10 blunders is a lot. I thought I was playing pretty well. Why did I make 10 blunders? I doubled up. I got double Ds. Karen's not here. Come on. Yeah. Only 1 missed win. That's right. I don't understand what I didn't like about my play. I thought I played pretty well. Yes. Wow, 40 moves and I had 4 seconds left. That's the fastest I've ever played. I've never played a 40 move game where I had 4 seconds left. I used 6 seconds to make 40 moves. 6 mistakes, 7 blunders, 0 missed wins. That's my favorite game I've ever played of 10 seconds. I walked that king up. That was good. See how my king is safe on the dark squares? Yeah. Yeah, that was good. Yeah. Yeah, that's a game report. That's how we're going to end this stream, with a game report of that game. I wonder how I played. Probably better than Waco did the last tournament. The more you donate, the funnier I am, and the funnier looking. Stats. Let's see, I have 1,912 subscribers, 51,000 followers, Papa John's. Even says Papa John's in the stats. It's hard for the engine to analyze because the moves are so bad. Man, I played a 40 move game in 10 seconds. I had 4 seconds left. Now I know how Andrew Tang feels every game, except I was losing. Yeah, Homer's good at chess, based on some episode where he played Magnus or something. Supposed to play Magnus. Oh, I took such a long nap today. It's taking a long time to analyze this game because it was such a good game. I'm good, Road to Chessmaster. Honky Blood with the unusual joke. What? Yeah, the engine's like, what is this? Do you guys think I played more or less than 10? Quick. I say less. Less than 10. I think I played less than 10. Yes, under, more. Okay, I played 15.1 and he played 23.3. I made 6 blunders, 7 mistakes, 4 inaccuracies, 1 book move, 7 good, 3 excellent, 12 best. He had 2 missed wins, 3 blunders, 1 mistake, no inaccuracies. 11 excellent, 13 best? What? How you play so good? Intense, saved by the clock. That is correct. Excellent, good, excellent, best, blunder, missed win, mistake, missed win, best, excellent, blunder, best, good, blunder, best, good, excellent, inaccurate, mistake. How can D3 be a mistake? Why isn't it a blunder? I'm hanging a knight instead of taking a rook. How's that not a, I wonder if it likes my king march up the board. King G3 is best. King H4 is best. Best. All those moves were the best moves. King here is better than taking the bishop. Yay. Ooh, that's a blunder. I should have taken on B3. Queen C1's excellent. That's like my favorite game ever. All my king moves were best. Nigel Shart's like, what the hell? Even better than what I did. All right, I don't think I've played a 40 move game. Maybe I have once or twice. Maybe. Yeah, that was a grandmaster piece. And now that the stream is over, I'm going to go home to my grandmaster piece. Grandmaster bedroom. And let me tell you what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen.